If you're a scout, you know. So let's get into this episode. I'm gonna make this one kind of short and kind of explain, not really explain, but there's a lot going on this month. I'm releasing hopefully a documentary here in the next week or two, and I got another little short video planned. So there's gonna be not as much content as I would normally like to get published in a month, but I am gonna try and release some videos. And so this video is about filming and photographing my first wedding. Oh man, it was exhilarating. There were nervous and there was sad times and there was times where I kind of wanted to cry and give up, and there were just a lot. So let me kind of take you back to how everything started. I was in the middle of shooting a video for a school district, and I'll talk more about that video later, what it's like being on set and just kind of like how you get yourself in these kind of positions. Well, I got a call from somebody and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" I was like, "Not much planned right now." And they're like, "Can you come shoot a wedding?" And I was like, oh man. So backstory here, I have, been shooting, like I said, for the past 3 years, trying to get to more of a photographer standpoint. And 2-3 months ago, I posted online. I was like, "Hey, if anybody's doing a wedding and they need somebody to photograph or mainly video the wedding, would love to get some experience in." And I was basically trying to really put myself out there, get that first one. If it was free or if it was paid, didn't really matter to me too much. I would have liked to have been paid for it. Had several people hit me up and they were like, "Hey, I'm getting married this time." And then this was not even several months ago. This was like, it feels like half a year ago now, because this was before all the COVID stuff happened. And it's just been crazy ever since then. Like I said, I had a couple lined up and just everything kept happening. They kept getting pushed back, rescheduled, canceled, and it was a huge mess. And this had actually happened to my friend, and their wedding had constantly been rescheduled, and finally they were like, "We're having it this weekend. Everything's kind of, settled down a little bit. We're going to have it with a small group of friends and family." And the photographer that they had couldn't quite make those arrangements for what they were wanting, so she contacted and reached out to me. She said, if you can't be there, let me know. I have somebody that could potentially be a backup. And I said, "No, I'm going to do it for you." And she's like, "Great." And then the question hit, like, how much? And it was like the most nerve-wracking experience, because like I've pitched bids on projects, and I've negotiated my contracts before, but this is my first time doing a wedding. And it was something like, well, kind of like, how long is it going to be for? How many photos do you want? Do you want me to do video as well too? And there was this kind of like going back and forth over like the number of prints and the number of photos and like how long it was going to be there for. Really long discussion. I'm going to talk more about like how to price yourself and how to make money with your camera, doing photography, videos, and selling prints and things like that later on. But we did finally settle on a price, and it was just going to be me. Had some other people in my network that I usually go to if I'm needing somebody else to take photos with or need a second shooter or some videos or things like that. But it was just going to be me, and I was agreed to do the photos and the videos. And this is where it gets a little like crazy for me, because I got less than a week to plan. And normally I like to go through this with couples like a month or two in advance at least. And it's like, "Hey, here's the standard kind of like wedding shots, the kiss, rings, flower arrangements, bouquets, wedding dress, things like that. What would you like in this video or in these photos?" And we kind of go from there. That really didn't get to happen this time around, because I was busy up until the day of the wedding. So it's kind of like, do I have everything? What all do I need? Threw it all in the car. Had to go get some batteries for a light. Huge mess. And I really wish I had an extra day or two to kind of think things through and prepare. And I wish I could redo it, honestly. I'm very happy with how it came out, but just looking back, I was like, there were a couple things that I could have done better. So this was an outdoor wedding at like 11 o'clock, super bright day, not a cloud in the sky. And, here I am. I got, my Nikon D750. I had my Coolpix V500. I had a Canon T6 I was using my Nikon D750 to take photos, and I felt really confident with that. Had my 70 to 210, had my 50, had my 24, had this lens. It's a 18 to 35 or 16 to 35, whatever. I was actually waiting for a lens to come in, and it would come in a 28 $78 to $80. I had ordered it off of Amazon. It never came in. They refunded it for me, and I ordered a different lens, and it came in. But I was missing that mid-range zoom that would have been perfect for this wedding. So not having that, realizing what kind of tight spaces I was working in, really wish I'd have had that. And then we transitioned inside the wedding. I'm kind of jumping ahead here a little bit, just talking about my lens choices. Went inside. It was, obviously a lot darker. So I wish I would have had a wider aperture lens. And I also wish I would have had a little bit better lighting. I did have, like I said, a couple battery-powered LEDs lights with me that I was able to use to kind of get a little bit of lighting in there. I wish I would have had something bigger or had a couple more of them. And then just more time to kind of like figure out how things were going to go through. Because after the wedding, and here's something that I was kind of taught, talking to the wedding photographers. And however you want to do it, that's your style, your preference, and I'm okay with that. But what I was taught was like start with the largest group that you can and then work your way down. Because if you start with the bride and the groom and then you do the mom, the dad, and, bridesmaids, groomsmen, things like that, the chances of you getting everybody back for the photo after they've gone off and they're at the reception or they're taken off home is extremely hard. So start with the biggest group and then work your way down. That way, if those older people want to leave, or somebody needs to go set up for the reception, young kids are playing around, they're dirty or whatever, they're grumpy, it's okay. You don't need them anymore, per se. So that's what I did. I started with the biggest group and I started working my way down. But I forgot the bride and the groom. And now you're going to say, like, Nathan, how could you forget the bride and the groom? It happened, okay? Everybody was rushing. They're like, we're going to cut cake. Are you ready yet? Are you done yet? How many more photos? And I'm like, I think I'm okay. I mean, I think I got everything. And I'm like scrolling through photos left and right. Like, did I get everything? Did I get everything? Oh, snap. I forgot the bride and the groom. But it was like, they're already going inside to cut the cake. And they're like, hey, you need to get some photos of them cutting the cake. And I'm like, okay. I haven't even seen the inside of the house at this point in time because I was busy. Okay, so I got there, and I got there like intentionally 20 minutes early to kind of like scout out scenery and everything. Groom's mom pops up and she's like, hey, you're here. Okay, wedding's in a little bit. Hope you're ready. And I was like, whoa, I need to check lighting, need to see if I need some filters on. None of that. No, it was like, seriously, I got there and like I was like basically already trying to shoot and record things. And she's like, can you get some of this? Can you get some of this? And I was like, sure. So I was like scrambling around trying to get things. So like I said, I had 3 cameras with me. I had 2 tripods. I set those up with the T6 and my Nikon Coolpix B500 at different angles recording video. And they have a 20 to a 30 minute record time limit on them. So I just had them going constantly. And if I was trying to keep a track on my watch and I was like, hey, or I was just internally, I was like, hey, as soon as that, gets down to like 15 minutes of recording, probably just want to go restart another recording in case I get busy in those last 5 to 10 and I don't miss anything. So as people were coming in, sitting down, as people were like starting to line up and everything, I was like moving cameras, trying to get angles, trying to get the right framing and everything, hitting record, taking photos. And then like people start like walking down the aisle, the flower girl and the ring bearer and everything like that. And I am literally panicking, okay? I'm like trying to make sure my shutter speed's right because I just finished setting those up. I'm like snapping shots here, barely looking at them. I'm like, okay, a little blurry. Let me go up a couple extra seconds. Let me turn my ISO up to compensate this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, bride walks through the front door into the, because this wedding was in the front yard. All right, bride walks through the front door to start walking down the aisle. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. I'm still trying to catch the flower girl here. So I like turn around really quick. And she's already at the front of the aisle, and I'm like snapping a couple quick photos from the side. I really wish that I would have got one facing front and center with her walking down the aisle. I wish I would have stopped her for a second and gotten that photo. Didn't have time. Really regretted it. So during all of this, like I said, I'm like changing between lenses to like give them a wide view and also give them like some close-up views. I got some really good shots. And overall, I'm very happy with the wedding. And I got some very good shots of them like holding each other's hands, exchanging rings. And I was also able to get some wide views of them reading vows and things like that intermittently between all of those. So like I said, as this was going on, I'm changing lenses, I'm taking photos, I'm like moving camera angles to like record video at the same time, hitting record, bouncing all around, okay? And like, so the aisle was like basically right next to the porch. Then there was the guest seats, and then the altar, so to speak, was up in front. And then they had a fence with some rose bushes beside the seats. So I could not really get around unless I went all the way around. So I had to go back and forth because I had a camera on both sides recording video to keep them going, along with taking photos around. I had a monopod at the time too, and I don't regret bringing it, but would have kind of felt like been in the way. But like one of the kids ended up grabbing it. So I was like, okay, I guess I don't need it after all. So this all happened like during the wedding ceremony. I was like running back and forth, getting different photos and keeping the video going and reframing it as they were moving and people were exchanging places. So I got all that done. I actually only missed, I think, one part of the wedding with the video, and they did a wine pour together. And that's like, there's a lot of different things for weddings, and I really wish I would have like had a third camera at the very back, just kind of getting everything just to make sure that I was triple, quadruple safe. But it's like one of those like sand pouring ceremonies or the knot tying or something like that, just kind of like the joining ceremony basically. So they did a wine pour. Neither of my cameras were really set up looking at where the wine pour was, and I was too busy getting photos because it happened so quick, because I knew what the schedule was, but I wasn't really quite sure on timing, because I couldn't quite keep track of like what time things were happening versus like what time I needed to start recording things. So that happened. Got the kiss. That was honestly some of my favorite shots. The kiss, them exchanging vows, and them like holding each other's hands up close angle or up close view. Thought it was a really good photo overall, and I was happy with them. I think overall there was like almost like 100 photos. No, it was over 100. It was like 160. Yeah, 160 photos, and I ended up giving them like a 3-minute plus video. Did a couple songs, and I wish I could show you guys, but they're copyrighted, and I know, but I was running out of ideas, and it was just quick, and so I was just trying to get everything done. So went back inside after taking all these photos, and it was like noon. Okay, like the siren. If you're in Oklahoma or surrounding states, like the sirens go off like once a week just to make sure that they work. Okay, sirens were going off, so it was like noon on a Saturday, no clouds, so like direct overhead light. And everybody's got these like kind of like raccoon eyes, and like it bugs me because like I wish I could have done better. For the time what I had, I really could have done better. Hindsight 2020, if I would have had like some kind of small canopy, or I had my bounce with me, but I couldn't quite figure out a way to set up my bounce and move it around to get the right shots every single time. So anyway, so I got all the groups and everything. We went inside. I didn't get the bride and the groom. We went inside. They were like, hey, we want some photos of the cake. We want some photos of the table decorations. So I was like getting some photos, got some real quick video. And then they were like cutting the cake, and then they were drinking wine. Got some pretty good shots in there. I was happy with them. Felt a little weird like on the lighting and like on the camera angle sometimes, because I didn't have that mid-range zoom. And not that that's an excuse or anything, because there should never be an excuse if you commit to a job, or if you say you're going to do something, you shouldn't ever come back with like well, I didn't have the right gear. What did you expect? Like that's something you need to bring up beforehand. I felt comfortable with my gear. It's just like everybody always wishes they had something better. Not that my work quality suffered because of that. I probably would have given them very similar photos, because I actually ended up using a wider angle lens, my 16 to 35 here, and I ended up just cropping down. So they would have looked similar to what that 28 to 80 would have given me anyway, so I felt comfortable there. I did miss a couple like photo video opportunities because I was like switching back and forth because my cameras were still outside on the tripods, and all I had was my D750, so I was doing video and photos with that. So I was like flipping back and forth between those two, trying to get everything done. And it's like, are you ready? And then after they got the wine, drinking, everything like that done, they were like, okay, do you have all your photos? I was like, actually, I don't have the bride and the groom. And they're like, oh, haha, silly goose. Why didn't you get those? I was like, I was busy. Yeah. So they cleaned up a little bit because like the bride had smeared cake on the groom's face. So they cleaned up a little bit. We went back outside. It was even more hot, and like they were red, they were kind of sweaty, they were flustered. And this isn't my first time like shooting something like this, but like for a wedding, and you hear horror stories all the time of like, you know, something happened during the wedding, cards crashing, things like that. And I was nervous beyond all belief, especially since I didn't have a backup there. You know, I had my card going to, because I love the dual card slot, and I have had cards fail on me in the past. Some people say that they haven't. I have had some, but they've all been micro SD cards, so I'm not going to use those again. I've had 3 fail, 2 PNY, 1 SanDisk. There are problems, I believe, probably with the camera. One of them was a problem with the driver itself. So anyways, I had it copying photos to both SD cards. So felt a little more comfortable there, but like I was still kind of nervous, like what kind of photos do they want? What kind of style am I looking for? Are they going to be happy with everything? So I was like having them do several different poses that I had kind of been looking at over the past couple of days, kind of like for some ideas and everything. And there were some that I saw that turned out really, really good. And I think they were wanting some set up differently, and I think we kind of got those in the end, but I really wish we could have like communicated just a touch more. But I feel like our communication wasn't really at 100% because they weren't really familiar and comfortable talking with me over the course of the several months. And that's something too that the, you know, talking to and before and after videos, or before and after the wedding and things like that, just makes them feel more comfortable. So that way they're like, hey, can we do this? Or hey, will this look okay? You can give that to them. So got them the photos and everything, video within a week. It was like 5-day turnaround. Really wish I would have taken a day or two off after the wedding without looking at the photos and then edited them. But I was very happy in the end. I'm going to throw a couple up here that they're okay with me sharing and everything like that. So I hope you guys learned something. It is a very fast pace. You got to know what you're kind of doing. You got to feel comfortable and confident in yourself as a photographer. But shooting a wedding is by no means like an absolute nightmare like I thought it was. And doing the photos and the videos wasn't bad either. If you're going to do that, you probably need at least 2-3 cameras. Like I said, I would almost recommend a 4th. You know, you can never be too safe or too comfortable, and just make sure that you know kind of what you're getting into and what the day is going to be like. And then like always over prepare. Like I brought so much extra gear that I had my gimbals with me. I had, extra stands and backdrops and like things like that. Like if they wanted that, or if something came up and they needed that, I could have given that to them. So guys, I hope you learned a lot in this video. And if you're curious about anything else that I do, just leave me a comment down below and I will try to get to all the different things that I help with and all the different projects that I've worked on. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and following me. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you get notified when I post new videos. And find me on all my other social networks. And get ready for hopefully some really cool videos coming up in the future. I will see you guys later this week.